Did you guys know that Christine Maxwell had a sister? She has a couple sisters and a couple brothers, but this is her sister, Christine Maxwell. There's pictures here of her outside of the courthouse when Ghislaine was getting sentenced. Do you guys know anything about her? So she, basically runs the FBI. What? Yeah, her tech is used by the FBI to, filter all of their data.
Keep tuning in to 66 Cents, where you get the news to know, right here, right now. So let's get to it. All right, you guys, right here, right now, I'm about to break it down for you. Let me introduce you to Riz Flex. Check this out.
What's up, y'all? It's Riz Flex, and welcome back to the channel. We're doing this video at midnight. It's all good. This is, just how it goes.
The current DOJ under Pam Bondi is covering up crimes, very serious crimes by their own description.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
So there are really only two potential explanations that I can think of. Maybe you've got another. The first is that Trump is involved, that, Trump is on the list, that they've got tape of Trump doing something awful. I don't believe that for two reasons. One, I've talked to Trump about it a lot. And I know him. He's not that, for whatever his sins, I don't think he's that guy, actually. I don't think he likes creepy sex stuff. That's just my view. But more, I think, convincing is that this is all information that the Biden administration had. And if there was evidence that Trump had been involved in illegal sexual activity, you think the people who made up Russiagate wouldn't have leaked it?
Right.
Come on now. So the only other explanation that I can think of, again, maybe you've got another, is that intel services are at the very center of this story, U.S. and Israeli, and they're being protected. I think that seems like the most plausible.
That's the most obvious. They have a history of this. There have been multiple documented cases of pedophilia, a dozen cases. This was a BuzzFeed news piece years back where the CIA specifically did not want to prosecute those individuals in federal court for fear that they would reveal sources and methods if they were pulled into open court. And they basically just made it go away. The only time they actually prosecuted somebody.
Check this out. Ready? Okay, so he gave two theories, right? Either theory number one, Trump was involved, or theory number two, intel services are at the very center of this story. Ready? Did you guys know that Christine Maxwell had a sister? She has a couple sisters and a couple brothers, but this is her sister, Christine Maxwell. There's pictures here of her outside of the courthouse when Ghislaine was getting sentenced. Do you guys know anything about her? So she, basically runs the FBI. What? Yeah, her tech is used by the FBI to filter all of their data.
Going all the way back to how he got started in the 70s, the influence he had, there's got to be people that either trained him to do what he did in the 90s, 2000, or influenced him negatively and taught him some bad habits. A lot of times in business, we'll bring an agent that comes from another company. That company, if they do forgeries, because that guy learned some of those habits at a different company before they brought it in. Like, how did you learn how to do this? Well, when I used to do mortgage, it was called creative financing. Oh my God, we don't do that. That's not the right way of doing business. So how do you yourself, when you look at somebody like this, someone must have taught him these bad habits?
Right. So it looks to me that it was somewhere around the time he went to Bear Stearns, which was his first really entry into the financial world. Because, as I just mentioned earlier, most people think of Epstein as a sex criminal. Based on my research, he's just as much a financial criminal as a sex criminal. But in the book, I try and go even further back to that in pursuit of, where this intelligence tie may have originally started. And, he apparently had a British royal family connection as early as the early 70s, like 1971, when he was, in his 20s. He was supposed to be backpacking in Europe. There's some weird mystique around that particular trip that I note in the book. But after that, he, went to the Dalton School, which I think some people that looked into the case, after his second arrest are probably familiar with, because the man that hired him there, who is the headmaster of Dalton at the time, was William Barr's father, Donald Barr. And
Bill Barr, as in the former...
the two-time Attorney General. Yes, correct. And his father was a former... a veteran of the Office of Strategic Services, which is a precursor to the CIA. And then he went to Columbia and was sort of a talent scout, I guess, in a sense, because he ran a lot of programs at Columbia focusing on talented high schoolers. And it's very possible that Epstein was a very gifted high schooler in the New York area. He graduated high school very young. He went to the Interlochen Academy of Arts and was a very talented teenager. So it's very possible he may have met Donald Barr that way. But Donald Barr, for whatever reason, hires him to go to the Dalton School. And according to former students quoted by the New York Times, he showed a weird interest in partying with underage kids even then and wanted to drink. And some claim they hit on him and all this stuff. And other people said that was normal at the Dalton School and all of that. And the reason for him leaving isn't quite clear, but he was sort of headhunted there by Alan Greenberg of Bear Stearns and went and joined that particular bank. And Alan Greenberg, just a couple of years after he brought Epstein into Bear Stearns, became the head of Bear Stearns. So Epstein was sort of, from what I understand, seen his mentor was basically Greenberg, and Greenberg goes to the top of the bank, and so obviously that helps Epstein's career. He, climbs the ladder pretty rapidly there, and then starts working with some of their elite clientele, the identities of which we don't exactly know, but based on the circumstances under which he left, it was related to an SEC investigation focusing on insider trading of the Bronfman family company, Seagram's, I believe. Yeah, so it seems like Edgar Bronfman, he may have been involved in advising him on some things. And what he was apparently well known for and talented in at Bear Stearns was advising people about tax law. So there may have been some sort of tax evasion stuff or something. I mean, he left under rather murky circumstances, and there's a lot of, differing opinions coming out of there. But in looking at the particular Seagram's insider trading stuff and that the SEC was tipped off that Epstein knew something about it, and Epstein leaves, so there's no blowback for the bank because at this point, right, his mentor is the head of the bank that could obviously have impacts all the way up at Bear. Most of the time that Epstein was working for that bank became CIA director under Reagan.
Barr, when he was at Dalton, just to kind of put into perspective for the audience, how big of a deal is the school Dalton?
Well, from what I understand, it's kind of one of the, I'm not from New York City and I've never been there. So, I don't have like an insider understanding necessarily of that. But from what I understand, a lot of, elite wealthy people
went to the school,
send their children there. Yeah.
At Dalton, just to kind of put into perspective for the audience, how big of a deal is
was working for that bank, became CIA director under Reagan, Bill Casey.
So these links, by the way, if
bank that could obviously have impacts all the way up. The person who had been the legal counsel for Bear Stearns most of the time that Epstein was working for that bank became CIA director under Reagan, Bill Casey.
So these links, by the way, if you go on Donald Barr, because we went through that very quickly, Bill Barr's father, Donald Barr. Okay, so that's Donald Barr. When he was at Dalton, just to kind of put into perspective for the audience, how big of a deal is the school Dalton?
Well, from what I understand, it's kind of one of the, I'm not from New York City and I've never been there. So, I don't have like an insider understanding necessarily of that. But from what I understand, a lot of, elite wealthy people
went to the school,
send their children there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when he hired Epstein to become a professor teaching mathematics, this is a guy that's never had a degree before, right? Like Epstein never got a degree.
No, he would have not been eligible, as I understand it, to even teach in public school in New York.
How does that make any sense for him to get a job teaching even though he's never had a degree before?
Right. So Donald Barr apparently hired unconventional teachers and was known for this, right? But he actually left by the time Epstein started. Hiring decisions were apparently made in the spring. And that summer, Donald Barr left after having made those hiring decisions. So during most
Clean
of
your desk out. Did you hear that?
Donnie Barr was the headmaster of a school. Wow, could you imagine sending your kid to this school? And then this guy publishes this book about child sex exploitation. Anyways, he was the headmaster of a school called the Dalton School in New York. And while he was the headmaster, a young Jeffrey Epstein was selected to become a math teacher at this school. Jeffrey Epstein, by the way, was just 21 at the time. Donnie Barr is the headmaster, Jeffrey Epstein becomes a math teacher, and I gotta tell you why that's weird. First and foremost, because Jeffrey Epstein only had a high school degree. He didn't have any teaching certifications. He had dropped out of this mathematics program at NYU, yet under Donald Barr's stewardship, while he's writing this book on the side, Jeffrey Epstein is plucked from obscurity to teach at one of the most prestigious schools in Manhattan. So prestigious, by the way, that today, tuition is $65,000 per year. By the way, I should tell you, Barr himself was a bit controversial. He actually made several unconventional hires at this school during his tenure. And soon after Jeffrey was hired as a teacher, he had to resign amid some controversy. I'm not going to get down that rabbit hole for you.
We're not saying this is the case. That's what people say, but New York Times, if you had someone called you New York Times in 1992 and something happens, fast forward 2019, that's a long time to have that kind of a reputation. He started in the CIA in the 70s while still in law school. Throughout his career, maintained close ties to the intelligence and national security circles. George Bush, CIA director turned president. Barr was the AG during the final years of Bush 41 administration. That's how long he goes back. He pardoned key Iran-Contra figures, effectively shutting down deeper investigations into covert arms and drug operations. And Epstein was arrested in July 2019 and died just 1 month later. Barr returned as Attorney General February of 2019, 5 months before that. Little weird. You can say whatever you want to say about this thing here. It's also another thing we need to put into evidence as we're doing the Epstein files.
And that's not the only one, you guys. Check this one out right here. And then check this out. I'm definitely not down with her. Another plant, another Mossad. But it's the information. You got to listen to what they're putting out to you. Like I said earlier, it's what they're saying. They're saying it for a reason. Why are they putting this guy in your face? It's not like they're not hiding him. Check this out.
It has been alleged that Epstein made millions because he was managing Leslie Wexner's affairs, millions. Far cry from billions, but Leslie, you might recognize Wexner because he is the owner of many retail stores. Abercrombie & Fitch, Victoria's Secret, I think is probably the one that he's most known for. Lane Bryant, just the L brand in general. Leslie, for whatever reason, just felt that Jeffrey Epstein should just be given control of everything. Power of attorney, make hiring decisions, firing decisions. He really empowered this Jeffrey Epstein. And for whatever reason, while Epstein was empowered, when executives at the company would come forward and say, hey, this Jeffrey Epstein is kind of a creep. He's posing as a recruiter for Victoria's Secret models, and he's getting access to these women. That was completely ignored. Of course, we know what happens next. Epstein, or during this time frame, he is throwing parties for the elite of the elite.
And that's not all. I've got more.
Meeting with the headmaster of the school at the time, a guy by the name of Donald Barr.
Who was Donald Barr?
Yeah, so that name might sound familiar. Donald Barr is a very interesting character, not least because his son, Bill Barr, was the attorney general who had Jeffrey Epstein arrested and oversaw his death in the federal jail that he was in.
Can I just ask you, I've already said I wouldn't interject, but I'm asking you to pause already. What are the actual odds of that? The Attorney General of the United States, who arrested Jeffrey Epstein, oversaw his death, declared his death a suicide before the investigation ended, is the son of the guy who hired Jeffrey Epstein at age 20 with no teaching experience or college degree to teach at one of the most prestigious schools in Manhattan. What are the, if you were like, hey, Grok, what are the odds? What do you think the odds are?
Well, whatever the odds are, let's add a few more zeros to that.
Okay.
So Donald Barr was also somebody he used to work for the OSS, which was the precursor to the CIA back during World War II. So he has that connection. Excuse me. Donald Barr also dabbled in science fiction writing in his spare time. One of the books that he wrote.
Got to pay attention to what's going on here. Like, you got to understand, why is he so involved with science fiction, science theory? We're going to keep going. I got one more thing I want you to hear. Check this out.
It is called Space Relations, and he wrote it right around this time that he hired Jeffrey Epstein. And I've read the book, and you can go read about it on Wikipedia. It's close enough to basically what the plot is if you want to get the idea of it. The long and short is...
But you read the book.
Oh, yeah, I have a copy. I make sure I get a copy.
Then in 1974, he began teaching math and physics at Dalton, an elite Manhattan prep school. He was hired by Donald Barr, who was Bill Barr's father. By the way, Bill Barr's father wrote something very interesting. He wrote a book called Space Relations, a scientific fiction novel in 1973, set in a future where humans have formed an intergalactic empire ruled by aristocrats, where they ruled over and engaged in coercive acts with enslaved individuals, including teenagers, in a breeding clinic. Little weird. What book did your dad write? My dad wrote this book about, you know what I'm saying? A book about, enslaving individuals and engaging in coercive acts, including teenagers in a breeding clinic. Oh, okay, normal dad. Everybody's dad writes stuff like that. I mean, my dad wrote a book like that. You understand what I'm saying? That's a little weird when you go to, but what does Bill Barr have to do with this? We'll come back to this. So now later on, he goes to Bear Stearns, starts working there, enters into the financial network 76 to 81. So at the time, starts working with Alan Greenberg at Bear Stearns, becomes a partner in 1980 due to his skill in tax law, then insider training and mysterious exit. In 1981, he all of a sudden resigns, suspicious circumstances during an SEC investigation into insider trading, linked to Seagram attempt, takeover of St. Joe Minerals, an operation involving the Bronfman family. He was never charged, but was interviewed by the SEC.
So she runs this company called Chiliad, Chiliad. The firm's software was behind the data search technology used by the FBI's counterterrorism data warehouse. As of August 2019, she served as the board director of Chiliad.
Fast forward 11 years to July 6, 2019, when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested again, and an FBI team, led by Special Agent Kelly McGuire, began a 2-day raid and search of Epstein's 8-story, 19,000-square-foot townhouse in Manhattan. That raid began with the FBI, quote, using a crowbar to break the grand doors of one of the largest private homes in Manhattan, end quote. Remember, the FBI planned ahead and brought a crowbar to help them break into Epstein's townhouse. This will be important later. What did the FBI find in the townhouse? Quote, federal agents found a vast trove of lewd photographs of young girls, including at least one girl who was underage when her photos were taken. Agents also discovered in a locked safe compact disc with handwritten labels indicating the disc likely contained illegal content.
Okay, so this counterterrorism division that was installed right after 9/11. Data search tech that the FBI uses is now going into enterprise. So that was in 2009. They went from government into the enterprise sector. But hold up, what did they do for the FBI? For the past several years, every time someone at the FBI wanted to search for a name in its investigative data warehouse, they could count on Chiliad working in the background, aka Ghislaine Maxwell's sister.
Data informs every medical breakthrough. Without data, there's no cure. Today, it's more important than ever to put the evidence in evidence-based medicine. Documentation exists from oceans of sources. Clinical trials and research studies, journals and electronic health records. But it's stored in many different formats and in many different places. Local hospitals, clinics, emerging healthcare information exchanges, and academic institutions. We know information sharing among care providers improves outcomes, and that finding and analyzing data across all of these sources requires a new approach. But how do you achieve knowledge discovery across all available sources of information? This is Dr. Logan. She's a researcher looking to reduce readmission rates for patients with diabetes. She wants to use the vast amount of information in clinical systems and academic research. But the information she needs
Pay attention to the name of the little red devil robot thing.
is spread across healthcare provider, payer, and research systems, all in different formats. She needs an efficient way to discover relevant knowledge and iterate on her questions. Dr. Logan can do it the old way, looking to charts and sources one at a time. But this process is inefficient, time-consuming, and error-prone. Or she can use Chiliad to analyze information documented everywhere, in every format, simultaneously and instantly. She can check structured clinical trials data and unstructured patient care notes with just one request. Across all available resources, the equivalent of tiny research agents fan out to securely reach every source while communicating constantly, comparing findings, arguing, and ultimately delivering everything that really matters with true global ranking to give Dr. Logan confidence in her research findings. No other system does this. Using Chiliad, Dr. Logan quickly found an effective solution to her information discovery problem. This helps patients and enables her to do further research. With Chiliad, you can instantly discover and analyze across clouds and other separate systems, just like 10,000 agents in the intelligence community do today. They use Chiliad to reach, find, analyze, and monitor more than 100 sources and over 14 billion documents and records. There is a faster, easier way to solve your information discovery problems. Imagine a truly comprehensive view of all patient and treatment information across all providers and researchers. Now, it's finally possible with Chiliad.
Anytime the FBI wanted to type in someone's name to find information about them anywhere, this company would fuse, I believe, like all agencies, and it was very controversial because they would spy on citizens without their consent. Like when I'm talking like mass surveillance, this was their expertise, and fusing all of the different surveillance systems into one. This is 2009, this was written. This has been in full-scale operation for 6 years and the largest counterterrorism system of its kind at the FBI. The FBI began using Chiliad's technology to get around problems solving correlating access to data in different sources. They were at the heart of what the company does as the FBI. Enterprises face similar issues now, and they deal with volumes of unstructured data. So Chiliad makes all of this data seamless and easy for people to use, and in 2009 is when they started targeting Fortune 500 companies, okay? So they went from all of our intel services, FBI, running FBI's data queries, to all the top Fortune 500 companies, all of their top data queries. Okay, this is Ghislaine Maxwell's sister, Christine Maxwell. It gets worse. It gets worse. Okay, so they started working with the FBI right after 9/11. And keep in mind, you guys already know, like, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad is Mossad. Mossad basically taking over the FBI after 9/11. This is not the only place that we've heard this before. This is Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. I watched Mossad take over the Pentagon right after 9/11.
And it's unquestionable that the Epstein business was heavily influenced, let me put it that way, by Mossad.
And so that's somehow emblematic on these huge geopolitical issues.
Yes, I watched Mossad take over the Pentagon. In 2002, the Pentagon was infiltrated by Mossad. They did not need any identification to get through the river entrance of the building. They went upstairs to Douglas Feith, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, the third most powerful man in the Defense Department. Occasionally, they went to the second most powerful man, Paul Wolfowitz, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and they had run of the Pentagon. Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, said to my boss one time, "Hell, I don't run my building. Mossad does."
So, like, if they were going to run hit squads on taking out people that went against their special interests, like, rest in peace, Virginia Jeffrey, this is how they would do it. They had, like, literally Ghislaine Maxwell's sister has all of the mass surveillance access. How would John Brennan know where you are at any given moment if he wanted to take you out? He had access through Christine Maxwell with Chiliad to where you were at any given moment.
The assassination squad, and John Brennan used to do this the Tuesday morning kill list. Did you hear about that?
No.
He would meet at the White House with CIA reps every Tuesday morning, and they would come up with a list of people to be killed that week.
John Brennan had a Tuesday morning meeting to go through with CIA who they're gonna kill that week?
Yeah.
What an interesting meeting.
Yeah. The Tuesday morning kill list meeting.
Seriously?
Yeah. I think it was first reported in the Boston Globe.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
So that's the
oh,
New
okay.
Yorker
So
2015.
it was the New Yorker.
American government can decide.
Chiliad, ran by Ghislaine Maxwell's sister, that works to control all of the FBI's data queries, cross-agency intelligence sharing, cross-fact check with John Kirikow and Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. I was trying to find that video where John Kirikow talking about how children are used as a form of currency between the intel communities internationally. The reason I can't find it anywhere in the searches, they scrub. But the reason why they do all of that, as children being the currency and the blackmail behind everything, they want global control. At the end of the day, that is their goal.
Headquarters, close to 40,000. And then they have facilities all around the world, plus a number of contractors also associated, probably on the order of 100,000, I would think, to 200,000 that work for them directly. So it's a rather large operation. I mean, it's between 10 and $15 billion a year that they spend on it ever since 9/11. So that's quite a bit of money they're investing in it.
Now, you've said that the ultimate goal is total population control. In a democracy, that is really scary business.
It's actually a totalitarian process that's been used down through history. I mean, that's what totalitarian dictators, states, that's what they want to do. They want to know everything about the population so they can control it. That was the idea behind the Soviet Union, the East German Stasi, that was their idea, and the Gestapo and the SS, and down through history, many others.
Is our stuff more powerful than those agencies you mentioned?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. That's the real problem I see, is that the capacity is, when you're looking at electronic activity of individuals, like when you use a credit card, or when you make a phone call or email anybody on the internet, or do chatter on the internet,
it all goes
that can
through.
be monitored in near real time if they're necessary. Otherwise, they can capture it, collect it, store it, and then retroactively analyze it. So it's something that it provides the opportunity to monitor everybody in the country, in fact, most everybody in the world, in near real time throughout the day. And that's really a 1984 on steroids, really.
All right, now let's
1984
take
on steroids.
Mrs. Joe Average living
Yo.
in Topeka, Kansas, and she goes to the store and buys something with a credit card.
Yes.
NSA's got that right then?
Yes.
They
say no more. Another word from one of the victims.
A cover-up is a cover-up, So they're obviously hiding a lot. I used to speak to other victims. Unfortunately, we've all been kept apart. Virginia Giffer and I used to speak often. 2 years ago, I got a message from her saying, oh, she's not using her phone anymore. I can email her through her husband's email address. So we had a few communications there, but otherwise I haven't been able to be in touch with her. They've kept most of the victims apart. Also, everyone's got to remember that there were over 200 victims, many more actually, but these are the ones with evidence, the ones who were involved in the lawsuit. I would like to know where the other 200 victims are. It's very, very frightening when girls are going missing as well. Like, I mean, for God's sake, sorry to say, but Virginia Giffer was found dead. Carolyn Adriano, who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell, was found dead. There are many. There are at least 7 Epstein victims that have been found dead so far. I'm too frightened to even leave my house, to be honest. And I'm sure that the victims in America are even more frightened. For me, I live in Africa, so it's not as dangerous for me, as other people speaking out against the FBI and the CIA, because they're all involved. Epstein told me he worked with the CIA. The FBI tried to get me there to interview me. They only wanted to interview me in person. They would not interview me over Zoom. They organized emergency visas for my son and I. They were arranging for us to be put in first-class flights, 5-star hotels, but my child's father wouldn't let us travel, so thank goodness, in fact, because a lot of weird stuff happened with a lot of the girls who were interviewed by the FBI. And it's very frightening, like I said, not just for the victims, but for everyone in the world, when we're all being lied to.
All right, you guys, I'm going to leave you with this last one, and I'm going to let Miss Christine Maxwell give you the flavor. Tune in, you guys. This is what's happening.
Chiliad, connecting all the dots. Our software.
Usually, when I talk to people about big data, a very analytic type of data, typically numbers, pops into their head first. This is, in fact, where big data got its start. It was all about numeric. Usually, when I talk to people about big data, A very analytic type of data, typically numbers, pops into their head first. This is, in fact, where big data got its start. It was all about numeric information. It was transactional, machine-generated information that was manipulated to find correlations and trends that were meaningful to highly skilled data analysts. But the fact is that about 80% of all data available falls into a whole different realm. Let's just call it everything else data. It is not
Let's just call it
numeric
that.
information. It's not the kind of thing that you can put into a spreadsheet and run an algorithm on it. It's information in the form of written content, such as emails. It's travel information. It's Facebook and Twitter postings. It's all the unstructured content, just like the stuff we view every day on the web. What's also interesting about this everything else data is that 10 years ago we didn't know it would exist to be collected because apps like Facebook didn't exist. We didn't have smartphones or Twitter either. All of a sudden, these new information sources that we didn't anticipate having access to are not only popping up, but are downgrading the level of importance of the old content delivery channels forever, and at phenomenal rates. And so the challenge now is about how we can deal with both the analytic, numeric side and all this other type of unstructured data that is highly distributed. How we do that at the same time is what is unique about Chiliad software. 3 approaches are taken to reach very large amounts of data. First, an analyst will query one data source at a time. While that works, you now have a problem to consolidate all those queries into one manageable view. Technology can help. We call this federation, which is the merging of those separate unique results, but it doesn't get you over the hump of what you need to do next. Second, another common option is to create a new data center by copying all the data into one location. That may seem like a good idea, as it solves a lot of problems, but it takes a lot of time and costs a lot of money, and often exacerbates security and privacy issues. I have met customers that have spent years and millions of dollars just getting to the data consolidation part before they even start with the project. So there is inherent lag time and significant upfront costs there. In the meantime, productivity certainly suffers. The third innovative approach developed by Chiliad is to virtually consolidate the data. With Chiliad, you can reach all of those data types we described in real time. Chiliad nodes allow you to discover and analyze data at its source within a single continuous view.
Live time, baby.
Chiliad software tames the biggest of big data, allowing you to find what you are looking for regardless of where it is or what it is. Within each source, data can be structured, as stored in the rows and columns in databases, or tagged on the web. Or it can be unstructured, like documents, web pages, email messages, Facebook, and Twitter feeds. The data can be under your local control or in the cloud. Whether it has an application interface or not, Chiliad software can virtually merge it and allow you to discover knowledge out of all that information in all of those disparate sources.
What's up, truth seekers? I'm Mr. Rex, working it out for you right here, right now. News to know on the 66 Cents channel, where we don't give you something to believe in. We just show you what you already know deep down. So sit back and watch what you already saw. Today's story: Trump, the wives, and Ray-Ban, and what it sees. They never expected a man in Ray-Bans to see what he saw. But check this out. Do you know the Secret Service and a lot of the 3-letter alphabet agencies wear the new Ray-Ban sunglasses? Do you know what the Ray-Ban sunglasses do? Well, they record continuously. And we're going to get into it on News to Know right here. Let's take a look at this, you guys. This is a photographer's point of view.
Been shot. Oh no. No.
Watch him.
Either that or they're covering. We don't know. Either that or they're covering him. We love you. We love you, President Trump. We love you.
And he's moved to this side. He ushers in photographers from the left side of the stage. He's He's led from over there. He continues to move the photographers into position with the help from his colleague.
A rally right now. Former President.
This is what the news shows you. On the headline bar at the bottom where it says speaks at rally in Pennsylvania, there's a Secret Service agent moving from the right to the left. And he grabs some photographers and moves back to the right. But they don't show it in this clip. I'll show you in the next clip. Check this out.
Trump was just in the middle of his speech when what sounded like possible shots were fired. We saw the former president, take cover. Security is now surrounding him and getting him out of the event.
I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold on in your head.
Give me my shoes!
So we gotta move to the class.
Obviously, a huge security concern there. People
Great
were
pictures.
screaming.
That could be a gun. That could be a puke gun.
Exactly what happened, but a very big security concern there for former President Trump. Secret Service agents now surrounding him. And they are taking him off the stage.
Let me show you that from one more perspective.
To our country, probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's sad, take a look at what happened. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's sad, take a look at what happened. You see something that's sad, take a look at what happened. President's been shot. Oh no. No. Either that or they're covering. We don't know. Either that or they're covering him. We love you. We love you, President Trump. We love you. We love you, President Trump. We love you. Yes. Yes. Yes! We love you, President Trump! No! Oh, nice shot! Nice shot! Oh, who did it? Nice shot! It could just be his ear. It could just be his ear. He's walking. Dude, that's fucking loud.
Look, I'm not a conspiracy person, but watch this. This guy talks to this photographer.
You know, that's a little bit old.
Okay, and then he moves him and a bunch of Secret Service this way.
If you want to really see something that's sad, take a look at what happened.
Okay, then the shooting starts. And then look who's right there, ready to get the shot of the famous bloody fist moment. The same photographer that he had just moved over there. I'm just saying, it looks a little suspicious. Look, I'm...
President's been shot. Oh no. No. Either that or they're covering. We don't know. Either that or they're covering him. We love you. We love you, President Trump. We love you. We love you. President Trump! We love you! Yes! 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 We love you, President Trump!
Of audio tapes of his interviews with Epstein from 2014 up until his arrest in 2019. And in those tapes, first published by the Daily Beast, Wolf says Epstein told him numerous times about his close friendship with Trump. Here he is 2 years before his death in 2017.
So how do you know this?
That was close to straight. 10 years.
And Michael Wolff is out front now. He is the author of All or Nothing, How Trump Recaptured America. And Michael, I'm really grateful for your time. I'm grateful for you sharing some of this with us and with our show. So you estimate you talked to Epstein for more than 100 hours, which is absolutely incredible in and of itself. You did a lot of interviews all the way up to his arrest in 2019. Did you, and in all these conversations, did you get a chance to talk to him about whether Trump was aware of Epstein's crimes?
Yes, as a matter of fact, their relationship ended in 2004, and it ended because in a dispute over real estate. There was a house in Palm Beach that Epstein thought he was the top bidder on.
I was very clear about that.
All right, Mark, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Tonight, Epstein, in his own words.
Like 2004 until 2008, we only got together maybe a half a dozen times or so, but we were always in contact. And in 2006, Jeffrey asked me to come up to his place uptown.
He spoke rather at length about
impetus for that. But when you
topless girls, I mean, is that
many. But Michael, in light of all of this, what you say you've seen, your conversations, I want to play another clip from your interviews with Epstein about Trump, where Epstein told you that Trump would try to sleep with some of Trump's friends' wives, and basically by duping them. So Epstein, in this clip with you, is basically mimicking Trump. He's giving an example to you of something Trump would have said to him. Here it is.
He'd say, Michael, come on, let's go to the office. And he'd say, tell me, what's it like in there? He'd say, you like having sex with your wife? How often do you? He'd say, it's great. Seriously, Michael, how often do you have sex? I mean, don't you want the trouble? You and I can go upstairs, or tomorrow come over. There's this girl's coming in from Los Angeles, part of the Hawaiian tropic kind of. So come over at 3 o'clock. You're going to have a great time. I promise you, Michael, it's just me and you. You're going to have a great time. Be up here at 3 o'clock. We can go upstairs. Come on, you must have had a better wife, right? I said, yes. Tell me about it. And the wife's on the speakerphone listening. Donald and said, I know I think you're really hot. And I know you think you're a guy. Michael is like the end of the world, the best guy on earth. You will be married to him. You're wrong. Just listen to the next 20 minutes. And go with the office, set you up.
That's obviously Jeffrey Epstein's voice, telling a story the way that he said Trump would have done it. Essentially, I guess, would be breaking up a marriage in a case.
And that reminds me, checked out this article here on the EFF. Check it out. Offline imprisoned bloggers and technologists. A number of individuals in prison around the world for raising their voices online is on the rise. In 2017, the Committee to Protect Journalists found that more than 70% of imprisoned journalists were arrested for activities conducted on the internet as of 2021. That's right, people, they're locking people up for doing what we're doing, getting the truth out there. These things have been, anything on the internet, okay, is captured and goes right into Chiliad. That's all you need to know, okay? Check out these interviews. It's very important. I mean, this was says throughout human history, culture has been made by people telling one another stories, building on what has come before and making it their own. Every generation, every storyteller puts their own spin on the old tales, the new tales, to reflect their own values and changing of times. This creative remix is happening today. The Ninth Circuit sends a message to platforms. Use a moderator. Go to trial. Cause, after almost 2 decades of litigation, you'd think the contours of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, the DMCA, safe harbors would be settled. But cases just keep coming in, and while the overall trend is pretty favorable, the latest ruling takes an unfortunate turn. Free speech is only as strong as the weakest link. From Mubarak knocking on a country offline by pressuring local ISPs, to PayPal caving to political pressures to cut off funding to WikiLeaks, this year has brought us sobering examples of how online speech can be endangered. And it's only a political speech that is threatened in the United States. Online censorship. OnlineCensorship.org seeks and encourages social media companies to operate with greater transparency and accountability towards their users as they make decisions and regulate speech. We're collecting reports from users in an effect to shine a light on what content is taken down, why companies are certain decisions about content. Section 203, and this is the important part, people, check it out. 47 USC 230, the internet allows people everywhere to connect, share ideas, and advocate for change without needing immense resources or technical expertise. Our unprecedented ability to communicate online, on blogs, social media platforms, and educational cultural platforms like a Wikipedia and the Internet Archive is not an accident. Congress recognized that. And what you need to know is the shadow regulations are voluntary agreements between companies, sometimes described as codes, principles, standards, or guidelines to regulate or use the internet, often without your knowledge. Shadow regulation has become increasingly popular after monumental failure of restrictive internet laws, such as ACTA, the SOPA, and the PIPA. You got to check it out. You got to stay informed. I'll keep you knowing. I'll keep you going right here. News to know. For you, for me, for all of us. 66 cents, you guys. Tune it in. Turn on. Drop it out. It's coming. And it's coming fast.
I think anyone can be a leader. However, there are certain organizations that have been trying very hard to be successful leaders. I think the Internet Society has come a long way in its efforts to do that, and they are a leader. I think, however, that it is really important that those organizations who think of themselves as leaders work hard to collaborate together, because the Internet needs to go everywhere. The Internet needs to be enabled for all walks of life, and it's tough to do that. So I think it's really important, for example, as we go into a world where the Internet Protocol version 6 is now necessary, as before it wasn't so necessary because we still had IPv4 addresses. We don't.
Protocol 6.
So there are other organizations who are also non-profit, who are also working very hard. Internet, the IPv6 forum, for an example, they are leaders also.
Yeah.
They just need to work together.
So, keep in mind, you guys, the clearest videos of the presidential ass attempt might belong to a private company like Chiliad, whatever you want to call it. It's not a guarantee to be released, and it can be redacted, as we well know. Edited, algorithmically throttled. And if the clearest footage is in the Meta's cloud, then the truth is, who owns it? Who's behind the paywall? You know, what they used to call this kind of crap? A conspiracy. Oh, it's a con, all right. But nowadays, they just call it terms of service. Standards and practices. If you don't agree to it, you don't get the truth. Unless you tune into News to Know. Check us out, you guys. Right here. 6 Cents Reactions. It's going to be news to know. Coming soon. Coming noon. Coming to you. All right. Right here, right now. Tune us in.